I just had this incredible nervous system regulation reset, absolutely mind-blowing.
I could understand why I have all of this love in my heart and compassion, but it's not coming out. And if your nervous system is off and you're stuck in fight or flight all day, that's where I was having all the problems.
There was something else that triggered.
You can't outwork a shit diet. If you have high levels of stress, what's that going to show on a blood panel? You're going to have elevated cortisol.
This is Keep It Clear, real conversations about skin, acne, and women's health without the overwhelm. Because you deserve answers that actually make sense. Today's episode starts now. So today's guest, and I'm actually so pumped for us to have on. I was on his podcast. I flew out there earlier this year where he is in Arizona. We had a phenomenal talk, really hit it off. I think I kind of want to be best friends with his wife if she's down for a new best friend. But today we have the amazing Dylan Gemelli. He is the founder of the Dylan Gemelli Podcast. You may have heard of it, may have seen it in your top 10 on health and fitness on Apple, alternative health on Apple, and even the top 10 on Spotify. And Dylan, what I really love that you focus on is that trio of mind, body, God in order to get that full body and health alignment.
Yeah, that's the teaching. That's the premise of everything that I do and that I believe in. And I know people always want science this, science that. I've got science this, I've got science that, and I've got real life and what we were created and intended to be. And once we're able to figure that out, then we can align in totality. But it takes a lot of work. It's a constant struggle and effort, but it's doable, it's learnable. And once you find it within, then it branches out into everything else.
And I'm a really big fan of hearing people's origin stories because I think when you can know somebody's origin story, their work makes so much sense and it really pieces all those things together. So for you, you didn't start in the health and wellness space. Could you bring us back to, how you ended up here today?
Yes. Well, I was a four-sport athlete in high school, which then turned into college basketball. So my whole life was really based around sports. Everything that I did, grew up doing. I started training when I was 3. My dad started in with baseball first, then basketball, trickled into football, tennis, and golf and everything, but 4 sports in high school. And, you come to the realization, A, you're sacrificing your whole life in college, and B, when the injuries pile up, you just don't want to deal with the rehab anymore. 21, 22 years old, and I'm in there at 6, 7 in the morning, and then again at night, and it comes to the point where it's like, okay, I'm done. And so it got to that point where I was about 23, where I finally said, what am I going to do now? And my mom was doing this modeling shit to me where she wanted to push me in that direction. And I loved fashion and I loved the thought of being like a big name, but I felt it was way too feminine for me. And at that time, it was a different vibe. Like now it's way different. But at that time, I was like, man, forget it. And then I started to realize, okay, there's a little bit of glamour here. I might be able to get a really big name. And I was so into Dylan at the time that's like dominated my thoughts. Was I could make a lot of money. I could probably be around a lot of beautiful women and I could probably be able to buy whatever the hell I wanted. So I was in.
Yeah. Any 21-year-old guys could yeah, this sounds phenomenal. Sign me up.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot there that I'll leave out. The point is I was partying a hell of a lot. I was doing drugs. I was out at the bars constantly. I was making decent enough money to where I could do that, not enough. So when I started this model search thing, I got picked and it was like you pay X amount of money. They train you for like 6, 7 months and then they take you to this big event. I was never showing up. And if I did, I was 4 or 5 hours late, completely hungover or up all night, haven't slept, right? So they had high hopes for me based on look, but not so high hopes of me showing up. But when I got there, the athlete in me turned on and it was like, okay, I'm going to be the first one up. I'm going to take this as serious as I can. Sure enough, I ended up getting 4th runner up, which was like 5th place out of, I think there were 15, 20,000 people in my age group. I signed a contract to Milan and went straight there. So that's like going from high school to NBA in the modeling world. There's no in between for me. No learning curve. I got there thinking I was just the hottest shit on the planet and quickly realized I was not. 250 of the best male models in the world. And I got humbled pretty fast and came to the realization, like, you aren't nearly as great as you think you are, brother. But I still had that mentality in my head. And I started to live this life and this persona that I created that people saw. And the internet wasn't as prevalent as the time. It was still early 2000s. So it was still kind of, there really wasn't a MySpace or anything yet at the time, but there was still the ability to put some things out. So I was still out there in front of people, and I wanted that to be bigger and bigger and bigger. I couldn't get enough. Well, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't live it. I could not do what I wanted to do. I had credit cards I charged, and I didn't have any money left. So I started to sell drugs because I was around it all the time, and I thought, man, I can do this. No one's ever going to know. I'm like a pretty boy model. I'm the least likely to be caught doing this. But,
Famous last words.
well, yeah, there's no longevity in selling illegal drugs. Just anybody that's curious, that's thinking about it. So long story short, I got caught. I got a 15-year prison sentence when I was 28 years old. Now, I drained my parents' bank account. They got me the best attorney in the state. So what I got was called a suspended sentence, which means you have that sentence, but they put you on probation. And if you screw up, they can give it back to you, or it will disappear after the 2 years. Well, I think you can see by the story I'm telling, I was a real asshole and I did not listen and I thought I was invincible. So I screwed up not once, not twice, but the third time they said, you don't get it. Goodbye. And mind you, I did 2 weeks in jail, then 100 and some days in jail, and I still didn't get it. So I had to learn the extreme hard way. And we can leave out all the fun details about the time in there. Let's just say that a lot of things changed within the time I was in there. I only did 2 of the 15 years and was released. And I got sent to Hawaii because my parents had moved there. And I started my life from scratch at 30 years old. So this 4th of July, which was not less than a week ago, it was 15 years to the day that I got released, because I got released on the 4th of July, 2011.
Incredible. And that would have been your full 15.
Yeah. So to the day. So for me, that was one sense of freedom, but not, and I'll get to why that wasn't the whole sense of freedom in a minute when I get to that part of my life. So that's when I started completely over. Now, I had been studying health and fitness for years prior to getting in trouble. I wasn't exactly exuding it with all the cocaine and alcohol, but
we were learning.
Yeah, right. I took exercise science in college, but I realized I can get all the certifications to do what I want to do, which was train people and really work on diet and nutrition planning. I can get all this, but I wanted the business degree, which I got because I knew whatever I was doing, it was going to be business related. So I was full of certifications, master's degree in finance, but I had 2 felonies. So I was at a crossroads because, again, at that time, that was not acceptable at all. Nor were my tattoo, nor was anything. Like, this was all a different time. And I don't think people realize that are younger. Some of the things now that are okay were not. And you were viewed a certain way. So I had to rebuild everything. I had to earn trust. I had to build credibility. And I had to overcome selfishness and the person that I was and turn into who I was meant to be. Which, if you think back, Katie, and I think back, I never liked who I was. I never liked what I was doing. If I'm being honest with myself now, I'd wake up and ask myself why I did what I did the night before. Whether it was partying, a different girl, worshiping money, but I still wanted more of it, which doesn't make sense. That's what an addiction does to you. You hate yourself and you hate what you're doing, but you can't stop. And that was who I was, but it wasn't who I was. It was a facade that I created. And I realized that once I got out and had to rebuild and start over, that, man, I just missed it. I didn't get it. And what am I doing? What talent do I have that I'm wasting? So I became closer to God, but he wasn't my priority, but I was still learning. And that's when I met Queenie. when I was in Hawaii, I got a job and I would go into Safeway every day, and she was the manager there. And I would get, I was going to buy lunch and just kill time because I was terrified of getting in trouble again. So I did very little when I got out. And that's when I started to study anatomy, physiology, and bodybuilding and how our hormones worked and I was fascinated with the steroid era in baseball because I was an avid sports fan. So I started to study steroids too and supplements, and then I discovered peptides. And I built a YouTube channel, which I was telling you off camera, millions of subscribers, shut down, millions of subscribers as I rebuild, shut down. And then I got the opportunity after I built my Instagram to speak at the Mr. Olympia, and I got put in front of all these doctors and practitioners and then this dude from online, And I went in there and I was not going to fail, and I did not. And when I was there, I was co-hosting a podcast with Monica Branch, who was a former Miss Olympia. This got thrown on me last minute. So this was like a big event for me. She was being sponsored by STEM Regen, who was like one of the biggest biohacking companies in that sphere. They noticed me there, and that's how I fell into the biohacking world. I quickly realized that was my calling. It wasn't to make videos about steroids and peptides and coach bodybuilders. It was to learn every aspect of the human body and how to fix people's lives. Well, during this time period, that's when I really became a God-first individual, and that's when everything came together, and that's when I started to understand my purpose and really make everything about everybody else and not about me. I'm a vessel to be able to give what needs to be given to other people, teach them how to love, teach them how to have gratitude, so then I can fix their health. Because I ask you a question, and it's rhetorical. How many angry and hateful people do you look at and think they're the beacon of health? You don't. Because I said, I'll wait, tell me. And we're going to sit here all day in silence. How many people do you see posting hateful comments online, and that's how they spend their time, or watching CNN or Fox News all day and getting every piece of anger in their body they can? How many of them are healthy? I'll wait. How many people that are full of gratitude, that appreciate everything around them, that have compassion in their hearts, that are humble, have humility? How many of those people are healthy? Even if they're sick, they're healthy. Somehow, some way, they overcome disease, and we can't figure out how. They run successful lives, whether that success isn't always based upon your bank account. Everybody needs money, but success is how many people's lives are you changing? How many people are you helping or cheering up or putting a smile on their face? That's real success. Real success is a multitude of things, but it comes to impact and utilizing your God-given talents and abilities in the way that His will was supposed to be done.
100%. And I think that, the way you put that is a lot of people go throughout their day and they see the hurtful and hateful comments. And then I like that perspective that you gave, that they're never truly healthy. Because it's that energetic, that vibration, that frequency that they're sitting in. And you can't be healthy, you can't be whole and have a regulated nervous system and be in that space if you're just filled with that negativity bringing your frequency down.
And you tell me, you deal with skin all the time. How many angry people have good-looking skin or good-looking eyes or good-looking anything?
Well, Cris, she can chime in on this one, is she deals a lot with the mindset with the clients and the borderline miracles we've seen, Cris, when you're able to break through their mindset.
Yeah, that's what it is. When they start to value themselves, when they understand that they matter, when the narrative that has been fostered, curated, whatever it is that just has this grip on them gets broken. And then the truth has freedom. So I call that the moneymaker. When I'm speaking with clients, I say, this is your moneymaker. And so now when they listen to this, they're going to say, Cris, this is exactly what you were saying. Yes. Thank you, Dylan, for putting in a different term, because without it, even with acne, sometimes it's not even about anger, right? It hides as resentment and judgment, and it hides as it's fear.
Mm-hmm.
Deep down, I am a true believer that in traditional Chinese medicine, they have only so many true emotions. Everything else is another curated emotion that comes from, Western or whatever. And we learn that through the Inside Out movie. I was watching with my kids one day and I was like, oh my gosh, this is epic. And they're like, Mom, what is wrong with you? But of course. And so when we look at that and we're like, if we just get down and we simplify life, then life will give back to us, right? And our bodies will give back to us. Our bodies love us and it will always show up for us until it can't. But there's been a magnitude of messages to us, for us, and we've got to grip them. We've got to invest in ourselves. You are an investment. Every single day, you are the investment. You know, if you want to talk money, you're the currency exchange.
You know, I thoroughly agree. And I'll tell you some things I went through. But first is, if you can't love yourself, it makes it awfully hard to love other people, you know, and loving yourself is not about being full of yourself. See, people like to mix words and go all over the place without understanding what they actually intrinsically mean. I just did a complete full-blown nervous system reset. I could understand why I have all of this love in my heart and compassion, but it's not coming out. Like, why am I stoic at times and when I don't want to be, like literally don't want to be? And why am I so short or snippy or snappy? What is it that is inside of me that's causing this? Because at first it was, okay, I'm struggling with my diet. I'm not eating enough. I'm starving myself, or, you know, different things that have come along, stresses. Why am I not dealing with this? But then when you get past all that, it's like, okay, what's missing? And that's when you have to have what I would say is comfort in your fear. What is your fear? How do you overcome that? How do you address it? How do you let that go and let it out? And I was able to do that. I have a very close friend. I actually am more like a brother to me, and his name's Dr. Sean Drake, and he put me through this like rigorous, hardcore, emotional, nervous reset where I just let it go. And once I was able to do that, it deepened my relationship with God and gave me a better understanding of who I was and traumas that I had inside of me that I didn't even know were there. Things started to come out of my head and I was going, it's kind of like when you take a parasite cleanse and stuff starts coming out of you and you're like, what the hell? Like, what? Same thing. These things were coming up and I'm like, man, I don't think about any of this, or shit, I didn't even remember this. But you blockade things out of your mind that broke you down or broke your heart or really took a toll on you mentally. And once you're able to let those things go and have comfort in any sort of fear you have, you're inconquerable to an extent. We started to say, I'm limitless. And you have to temper. You have to say that in a way of what you know what that means. But you have to have that belief. For me, it was, I have time, I am limitless, and I'm not scared. And I'm not scared of shit except God. And that's a different kind of fear. It's a respect fear. But you can't be scared of failure. You can't be scared of any of these things. You have to be bold in what you're doing, but temperate at the same time. If you're delivering a message, you have to speak it with truth and belief, but you also can't, you know how some people feel like they have to prove a point and be loud and obnoxious? That's not the way you do it. You do it in a manner of respect and dignity, but in a way that your message is coming across right, so people will actually listen. And so that's what I've tried to work on in everything I do, and come across in a manner of, I'm a person, you're a person, we're all a person. We're all equal in one way or another. We all do something good. You know, people in our space, if they have a lot of followers or they, I don't know, work with a lot of brands, they think they're so gosh damn special, and it makes me sick to my stomach. It's like people that act like they can't talk to you, don't have time, or you got to pay them to talk to them, or they don't know that you're trying to get a hold of them or whatever. That's bullshit. Everybody should operate on the same level of some sort. There's only so many hours in a day. I get that. That's fine. Some people can't get to everything, but I feel like attitudes and the way people come across needs to change. And if it did, things would operate so much differently, and then you would see better health and better joy and happiness into what we're doing. But there's too much negativity, too much negative energy. You know, the greatest compliment you can give me is not, oh, your podcast is so great, or, oh, you're so great. I don't care. What I care about is when I walk in a room, if you tell me there's a real positive energy or something I said or did changed your life, then I'm alive. And then I know, okay, now I feel good. I used to chase people telling me, oh, I love your car, or I love all the shoes you have, or you look great, or whatever. You want to look good in everything you do. Who doesn't? But if you're chasing those compliments and you're chasing people following you or doing this or that, and that's what you live for, you're going to find a lot of emptiness and a lot of wondering why you're not happy.
You want to know what? Something that reminded me is today when I was on my Instagram, I always try to respond to any person that leaves a comment, sends a message, because I'm so grateful that they took the time to ask a question. And today there was something that really, really stuck with me. She said, I'm so grateful for how much value that you give, and it's not stuck behind a paywall. I've learned so much, and it's really changed my life. And that was probably one of the nicest things that I had read in a really long time. And it like stuck with me, and I screenshotted it. And I actually felt my frequency raise just from hearing something like that. And it wasn't about, oh, your posts are so beautiful. It was really about the value that that person walked away with.
Yeah. I mean, look, everybody's human. A nice compliment. Yeah. I'd like to know that I didn't, I hate to say lose it. I'd like to know maybe you look a little younger, because I always tell my wife as a joke, like, I'm sorry, I just don't have it anymore. Because, I modeled in my 20s and we joke. It's a joke. But of course, who doesn't like that once in a while? But if you live for that and that's all you care about, that's where it becomes a problem. I'll take a compliment here and there, but that's not what I live for. I don't give 1 ounce of anything if somebody watches this and takes a shot at me or gives me a compliment. I'll appreciate it either way, because that means you were listening.
And I love that for you with this nervous system regulation, because you mentioned this to me when I was in Arizona. You said, I just had this incredible nervous system regulation reset. Absolutely mind-blowing. And can we kind of talk about how the nervous system truly is the foundation to your health? Because everybody's like, oh, I got to do this parasite cleanse. I need a probiotic. I need that new influencer supplement over there. And at the end of the day, if you don't have that foundation in your nervous system, all of the other work is going to be really difficult, if not impossible to do.
Okay, so I spent so many years completely focused on how can I fix your diet and how can I train the ever-loving shit out of you? Like, how can I just do these two things? Yes, these are very important. Our diet is clearly very important, and so is our training, very, very important. I can do all of that. I can fix your hormone panels to the best of my extent. But if your mind is completely off or you're struggling somehow, some way, and it took me to actually get into neuroscience to understand this, like, it's been not even quite a year. That's the key core. Your mind controls absolutely every single aspect of what you do. How are you able to persevere and overcome, do that extra mile, actually have self-control with your diet? Your mind is in control of all of that. So if we're having a problem mentally, how am I going to ever get you to get over the hurdles that you're facing on the other side? And that's where God, for me, comes first, because that gives you the innate ability then to control your mind. And then when you're able to control your mind, then I can start to control the other aspects. Because you also have to think, I don't feel like working out today. Well, your mind's going to tell you, get your butt in there and go do it, right? Nobody's going to make you do these things. Your mind has to tell you, I better get to work today. I better do what I have to do on time. That's your mind telling you what to do. So I quickly realized that I not that I had this wrong, I was missing the most important aspect of all of this. And if your nervous system is off and you're stuck in fight or flight all day, that's where I was having all the problems. The lack of compassion, the quick to being angry, the impatience, oftentimes the inability to focus, because I'm just, everything is going. And I never took a moment for Dylan to just say, man, tone it down, brother. Like, you're not helping anybody if you're not helping yourself. And if you're off, it shows in your work, it shows in your attitude, and it shows in your energy. I never want to walk into a room and bring negative energy. If you want to ask me if I'm scared of anything, which I'm not, that would be something I would put on the list of potential things that I'm scared of, is walking into a room and not bringing some sort of smile, some sort of joy, something good, something that resonates with people. That's my biggest goal. Anytime I enter a room or go speak or have somebody come on a show or guest on a show, I want people to smile, laugh, have fun. That brings out and exudes better energy, which then helps your nervous system because you feel comfort.
Yeah, it's really when you're able to have that foundation, that comfort, that energy of that space is such an incredible feeling. And when you're working on, say, like I know you've been working on a gut protocol, an NAD protocol, are you weaving in that nervous system regulation into those?
I always talk about and make sure that I tell everybody the same thing. And it's what I always used to tell bodybuilders or people when I was training athletes. You can't outwork a shit diet. Well, you can't try to do all of these things, take all of these products if your mind is off, because that you have to think about this. If you have high levels of stress, what's that going to show on a blood panel? You're going to have elevated cortisol. You're probably going to have more inflammation. Your markers are going to be skewed and off. Your sleep's certainly going to be off, which is then going to affect other aspects of your recovery. So I can put you on every protocol under the sun. I can give you the best of the best of the best, but it'll never function and work like it should if we don't tackle that part of it first. So I always temper expectations on anything, and you have to kid glove people because they want to take something and want it to work, right? And you have to always operate under the proper premise. You have to be in the right state for anything to work. So I try to explain to people that it's always a step-by-step process. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Less is more. These are all things that matter that you have to kind of instill into people's minds, because you know how it is, man. If you want something, you want it right now, and you want it right now. And we're a society that demands instant gratification, and people want to take shortcuts, which lead to longer roads. And so it's a lot of teaching and a lot of talking, and it requires a lot of patience.
Absolutely. I know, like, one thing I always say is you can't Amazon Prime clear skin, and that can apply to health. Like, you can't Amazon Prime your health. As much as we all want to Uber Eats it and have it DoorDashed here instantaneously, that's not how the body works. Like, we need to give the body time, patience, and consistency. So when you said that you're working on a new gut and NAD protocol, that like perked up my ears because I'm a huge fan of NAD. And so for people that maybe aren't familiar with it, can you kind of give them a breakdown of what it is?
One of the biggest problems in everything that you, me, and we all do is confusion. If you read comments, I only look for comments to see what are people's biggest problems right now that I need to try to fix. And confusion's the number one problem. People are confused in everything. Well, NAD is one of the top confusing things, because here's what happens. Anytime something comes along that we find that does something really special, it's instantly going to have people that want to exploit it. Wow, that's crazy. How can I make money off of this right now? And then what happens is people do this, and then they start to read, but they read the wrong information. And then sometimes it's on purpose and sometimes it's not. Sometimes people are just reading what they see and then putting it out there and trying to sell it and market it without the understanding that they're selling crap in a bottle. So when I say that, NAD is one of those things that's been highly, highly, highly polarized and confused. People that take straight NAD, that get in injectable NAD, because those were the biggest craze for so long. Regular straight NAD is too large to penetrate into your cells to actually work. So when you take a injection, you flood your body, a little bit's able to pass through, so you will get a feeling right away. But long term, this does not work. And so it requires a precursor. So a precursor has the ability to penetrate within your cell, which will then release, NAD itself. So instead of taking it exogenously, you're just allowing your body to produce it by releasing it with a precursor. So NMN and NR are the two most well-known precursors. Well, I like NMN because NR has to be converted to NMN to then work. So why not just skip the step and just take the straight NMN? So that's one of the ways where people get highly confused on how do we actually increase our levels and what are we taking and how does it work? Because I'll put stuff up and people go, oh, that's not true. Oral doesn't work and injectable is the only way. Well, here's what I've done. I work with a company called Ginfinity because they're the only place that I found that has an actual blood test. And this is why I worked with them, because when I work with somebody, I am a data-driven guy. I have to have the proof on top of the proof, and I don't want any bullshit animal studies or rat studies. I want real-world, real-life studies that I see, that I've done, and I've seen other people do. I don't want your truncated, study that you've done where we've controlled the group and it's certain people that are going to have the outcome you want. I don't care about that. I care about the thousands of people that I coach or train or that are out there that have used it and that I've personally witnessed it myself. So when I met them, the owner's name is Dr. Jin Shi. He came on my show. He gave me the test right there and we ran it. And I found that my NAD levels were terribly low, like really, really low. And so he showed me the protocol. He had a product that he had, and he guaranteed me within 2 months that it would work. He tested Queenie as well. Queenie's was a little bit higher than mine, but hers was also low. I said, well, what do I got to lose? I'll try it. If it sucks and it doesn't work, well, I'm going to tell you, hey, your stuff doesn't work. Or 2, I'm going to try it and it's going to blow my mind. Or maybe it's just temperate. We'll find out. Well, 2 months, I went from 24 to I think 72. Which is, you want to be between 60 and 80 as a range. So, I shot up immediately. I had to lower Queenie's dose. It was a little too high for her, what I was doing. So she shot up, not as high as I did because she's not taking as much, but she shot up 25 points. I shot up, 50, whatever I said, 24, 72, 48. So it was a drastic jump. So now what I've done is partnered with them and put out this protocol where I was able to have them give people discounts to because you have to take a baseline first. One of the problems that people often do is they take stuff and go based on how they feel. But how you feel, I've seen people that feel great that go in and get blood work and it comes back and it's like too late. There's something so severe wrong that they weren't monitoring before. So you can't go on how you feel or take something and hope that it's going to work. You need to see some kind of proof. And so I saw that, and so I put protocols together with them where there's testing kits and their NMN product that, I've seen work. So I can credibly stand by it. And then they have other longevity products there. I pretty much use everything they have aside from my gut. They don't have gut products. So I went through their whole product lineup, so they cover a lot of my bases now, and I put protocols together with them to where it's like my own, but it's their products. So it's almost like a white labeling type of thing, but he's so smart, and I was able to extrapolate so much information on NAD and longevity. So I wanted to work. You always want to work around people that are smarter than you to enhance your ability to know more, People that compliment me and say, oh, you know so much, I'm like, no, I don't know shit. I associate with the right people that know, and I listen to the Holy Spirit tell me what to do. Because we'll get off here and I'll ask myself, man, I don't know how the hell I even knew that. I often do that, So it's humility in being wise.
And when we're talking about NAD, so for people that have never heard of NAD before, right, it's a really vital coenzyme found in every cell in your body. And like when you think NAD, think energy production. So can you break it down, Dylan, like the reasons why you would want to be putting your clients on an NAD?
So basically, if we didn't have enough NAD, our body would struggle to have any energy whatsoever, managing like everyday cellular stress, basically. So when we have low NAD levels, then that starts our aging process. So it kind of, people will call it like a fountain of youth and like one of the keys to anti-aging. And you'll start to see certain like telltale signs. The problem is as you guys know, there's a lot of things that are the same, like side effects that are the same for different conditions. So it's hard to pinpoint. Cognitive decline is one that you'll run into, lack of energy, metabolic issues, cardiovascular issues. These are all things that will come up. And so one of the problems is, as I was saying earlier, is how do we test for this? There's really very, very few options of testing. And the other problem, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is regular doctors will never bring this up. You'll never hear a general practitioner, a regular doctor bring up cellular health, NAD levels, gut health. How do you sleep? How stressed are you? What are you going through? No, it's, I have a cough. Well, that's going around. Here's your antibiotic, which is just ruining our gut. So, that's why, and NAD is actually found in every single cell of your body. So obviously extremely important, right? that's why when I started to work with Ginfinity on this, is they have that test, they have the ability to test, and there's only very few places that you can get the test. Like for me, I've always taught people, when you go to your regular doctor, they're going to give you very, very basic blood panels. So I always say, you need a functional doctor, or at least you need to go order your own panels and let me put you on this. But even then, a lot of even functional doctors won't bring up NAD. And when somebody will tell you, oh, that's an idiopathic condition, that's just short for we don't know. We just can't figure it out. And we're not going to try to figure it out. Things like NAD that are being more prevalently discussed now are one of the keys to the problems that I'm finding, as is the gut. These are two of the things that people are understanding now, but it's not mainstream enough to where if you don't take control to go figure this out, you're going to be one of those victims of, we just don't know.
And we hear that, Cris, like how often do we have clients coming in saying, oh, my doctor just told me it was IBS, fibromyalgia.
I love those. I'm like, from what? I always tell them there's a precursor to everything you're experiencing. So the body will tell you the information. You just haven't had the opportunity or the education to understand how the body's going to work. So this is why you find the people that do. Because the people that do will not stop at the generic, here, take this supplement. They're going to say, okay, that's great. Your mitochondria is shot. Let's step back. Why? Let's step back. Why? Let's step back. Why? And, in this industry, obviously I love it. I live it. I breathe it. I'm in it. One little caveat that is we always talk about the gut microbiome. And one thing I always say is it didn't start with the gut microbiome. There was something else that triggered. Your gut microbiome is almost like the end of the domino, right? So we have other organs, we have other operating systems that are sitting there saying, help me. So that's what I always say to people, and I love what you're saying here, is because when you just look at it as a one single source opportunity, then we're not doing anybody any favors. We're basically Western all over again. So I say to clients, get inquisitive, ask the questions, ask me the hard question. You saw a TikTok, ask me. I might not agree with it. I don't have to. That's not my role. My role is to be objective. And to be objective, I need the information. That's what I need. Because it doesn't matter if I like you. It doesn't matter if I don't like you. Right? Because if I'm putting my personality in there, then I've put me first. And that's not why we're here. So it's really just stepping back. And I love this field. And I still think this field needs a lot of work too. Right? Like there's pop-up shops coming. You probably see, Dylan, pop-up shops all the time. This person's branding themselves as this holistic practitioner, and then you've got to weed through them. So find somebody that resonates, find somebody that holds the same values, and find somebody that's going to promote you to be inquisitive and ask the whys, because your body will give you every single answer when you give it the opportunity to respond.
100%. That's perfectly said. And I love that you brought up about it doesn't matter if I like you or doesn't like you, because none of that does matter. It doesn't. What matters is that when you're doing this, you learn about each individual. One size fits none. There's certain things that we're going to go through in life, but everybody's different, and it's developing what works for who and how and why. And far too many times people fall into this box. So here's what I've been telling people recently, and I thoroughly believe this. What we call today conventional medicine is non-conventional medicine. It is so far from what should be considered conventional, I don't even know where to start. What I would call conventional is taking what is natural and utilizing that in the manner that it was created to be. When you start altering it and changing it and making all of these differentiations, that's non-conventional. And alternative medicines are often the ones that are the best and the options, but we've been brainwashed to the point where people only believe somebody in a coat that's got 700 letters after their name that's being taught a bunch of nonsense. If you saw what medical school, students were being taught right now, see, I'm privy to that information, so I see what they actually teach and what they don't. And so they train people to then say, well, they don't know, they don't have the credentials. But if you're giving somebody bad credentials, then what do the credentials even matter? They're not worth a shit to me. What I care about, like I said again, is living it, being around it, surrounding yourself with it daily, being around thousands of people. I've been blessed to talk to, at this point, hundreds of thousands of people between clients that I've had over the past 15 some odd years, people that I deal with daily online, people that I get to interview, interact with, and people that I've understudied. That's the kind of people that I like to learn from. There's a difference here that I talk about a lot, and it's called knowledge versus wisdom. And you can have all the knowledge in the world. You can be the smartest book person that was ever created. And if you have no wisdom and don't know how to use it, it's worthless. And in fact, it can cause a negative reactive effect. I care about the wisdom on everything that I've learned so that I understand how to use it wisely, and use it for the ways and means that it was intended to be used. And that's another problem that I see a lot of smart people that don't know shit. And so, that there's a lot there, and it's really overcoming so many stereotypes and things that have been shoved down our throats all of these years. We all do it. I mean, I did it with low-fat diets because I started studying food when I was 11. And it's like these things get pushed down your throat. You believe them for so long, and then you lose your sense of reality. So, there's a lot of consistent aspects that we see that we have to overcome, and we have to be teachers, and you have to be patient to be those kind of teachers. But you said it earlier, you got to ask questions. If somebody gets angry when you ask a question or defensive or starts dancing like a politician, run. If you can't ask and have a conversation, you already got your answer.
Especially in the day and age of social media, right? Is anybody can be an expert in anything. And like you said, just because you have a bunch of credentials doesn't mean you have the wisdom in order to be able to share that.
Right. 100%. That's it.
Now, I'm actually really curious about what you're doing in your gut protocols, because I know you're not just doing a standard here, take a probiotic and call it a day. And that's the thing. I think that's one of the most common misconceptions I see online is when I say, oh, okay, well, what have you done for your gut health? They're like, oh, I take a probiotic, so my gut's fine. I'm like, okay. Well, there's actually a lot more to it. So what are some things that you're walking through your clients when it comes to gut protocol?
I interviewed Karan Krishnan last week. And I have interviewed so many people that want to talk to me about the gut. I'm not going to name names. I actually had this discussion with Queenie last night because we were talking about interviews I've had who were the most disappointing to me, that I had high expectations for, and who really shocked me with how smart they were. And a lot of people that have a lot of following and a lot of content, when I started to really get into gut questions, really let me down and danced around what is leaky gut, what's the difference between probiotic, prebiotic, postbiotic, like these basic kind of questions that you would expect an expert to know, didn't know. So one of the things I got introduced to a long time ago was a spore-based probiotic. And I will be totally honest with you, it was my mentor. He said, you got to take this. I didn't ask anything. I didn't know what it meant. I just took it. Okay. What I've learned now is the importance of that in comparison, and just taking a probiotic without even knowing what's in it or understanding is dangerous and often can cause a negative effect for a lot of people. So, and I'll tell you, Katie, I get approached by a lot of brands and a lot of different companies, and I've been through every big name brand that's come to me. Seed, Pendulum, like the biggest name brands, and I have tried their products, and every single rip, I've had some sort of reactive effect that was not good at all. And scripted nonsense and stuff that I start to read and go, man, this isn't even true. This is part of the problem is influencers, they just want jobs. They get these scripts. They don't know anything. They just read them. And they're not even doing it on purpose. They're just taking the company's words for it, by the way. It's not out of malice. So I really, for the past year and a half, I've wanted something that addresses the gut in my portfolio of people that I work with so that I could be a part of it and help people. And it just out of nowhere, I got this email from Just Thrive, and my guy, Sean, that I told you gave me the nervous system reset. Sometimes I confer to him and I'll go, do you know anything about them? And he says, these are the best people in the world. I said, okay, that makes me feel good because, he's a very prayerful and insightful. And sometimes even I get ahead of myself. So I sat with them and I interviewed Karan. He's their head formulator and biochemist. And we were supposed to interview an hour. We went 2.5 hours and have to make a 6-part series. I determined that halfway through. The amount of education that I understood. So anyway, just to give you background on all the years of work I put into this and all the nonsense I've had to sift through. So with the spore-based probiotic, you don't have to put it in the refrigerator. It's stable. And most probiotics never make it to your gut actually intact. So this one is 100% alive when it gets there. So the survivability is there. And there's proprietary ingredients that they have in there. And I'm trying to think, I want to say it's like HU36. And the gut and the brain go together and they're connected, but the immune system too is like majority is in your gut. So this HU36, it produces the antioxidants that fuel your immune system, and you get like the right kind of absorption, total immunity support, total body health support. And so I started to look into that and was like, okay, let's try this. Let's see how this works on my stomach as composed to I don't even want to get into some of the side effects and problems I had with the other ones. You can use your imagination. So this was on a different level. It was like, man, I feel good. Everything's regular. It's not strange. I don't have all these stomach grumblings. The digestion's good. Everything feels good. I feel like more energetic. My skin looks better. So then I was like, okay, that's step one. We got the probiotic part down, at least for me. Queenie, you try it now. Okay, sweet, works. Mom, you try it. Okay, sweet, testing, keep going. Put some people on it. Don't try to go sell a bunch of it. Just put some friends on it. Everybody, same type of thing. All right, okay, we got something to work with here. Interviewed Karan, learned a ton more. Then I started to get into other aspects of the health or of our gut health. How do we detoxify our gut in the right way without overloading it? How do these things intertwine? So anyway, I work with them to put together different protocols. They haven't come out yet. We're still finalizing what they are, but prebiotic, probiotic, putting these together. What is too much? Do we really need all of these? Do we really need to try to put people on every single product in there? No, you don't. There's certain things that are going to fit certain people, right? There's certain things that everybody needs, and there's certain things that some people are going to find benefit from and some aren't. My goal is to always to put people on the least amount of things that'll get the most out of it. And I think that too many times people are trying to take way too much to overcompensate when you could try to just figure out what does product X cover on multitudes of bases so that I don't have to take 75 other things. And the gut is it's very delicate and it has so much control. So it's like, don't try to overload it, because if you do, you're going to have adverse reactions. I'm sure you guys have probably done it and experienced it where something's not agreeing or you took too much. And when you have a gut problem or something like that, it can ruin everything you're doing. Sleep, your ability to focus. I mean, rightfully so, right? It can control everything.
It's crazy what it actually impacts when you look at that foundational component of the gut. And Cris, how many times have we seen clients, just last week, we had a client come in with 27 individual supplements that they were on. And we were like, okay, let's pull this way back.
I just had the most comprehensive intake from a client where it was pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and supplements and pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, got her on 4, kept her on 4. And I'm like, no, here's what we can go. Here's what your body can actually probably respond to at this point, right? Mm-hmm. More is not better. More is more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no more definition than that, right? So absolutely. It's also the body is, when we're getting those adverse effects and we're getting the grumbling and the rumbling, people are like, oh, that's great. Something's moving, something's shaking. Well, something also could be coming alive.
Mm-hmm.
Something, things have biofilms and encasements. I call it the bubble wrap, right? There's a lot that's going on in the body. And if your body has no ability to release the endotoxins, please expect that you're going to have adverse reactions.
Yep. 100%.
And then who gets to live that? The practitioner and the client. Oh, I mean, for self-preservation, listen, I'm that practitioner that says, I'm going to give you supplements that are going to work as a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
This one's going to feed off this one. This one's going to feed off this one. I think the most I've ever put somebody on was maybe if I'm doing a very comprehensive gut where I've already gone in and calmed, maybe 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The body cannot just go and discern all this information. The body has to feel safe. The body has to be calm first. The nervous system that we were talking about has to be regulated, at least to the point, when people say, oh, and they have some kind of intolerance to gluten, and they take it and they're like, oh my gosh, my body reacted. And I didn't even had that reaction before. I said, no, your body's responding. Your body, you've calmed it enough to say, here's the messenger, thank you. I said, being intuitive is half the game. When we take out the static, it's like tuning in the radio. Take out the static, you can hear the song.
That's it.
So, let's work together. Let's work with the body. So inquisitive, work with the body, calm it before you do anything.
I like that.
I don't know. I don't like to be pissed off. Do you?
I prefer not to.
It's not, I don't wake up like that. I'm like, hey, which personality do I want today?
Well, there was so many pieces of gold in the chat today, Dylan. I'm so thankful that we were able to book this in. Now, I do want to ask you, if you could make sure everybody listening walks away with one piece of information that you can share, what would that be?
The most vital vitamin that you need in every single piece of your life cannot be bought. And it's vitamin G of gratitude. If you can find that in yourself and you live that every single day, you will find the answers to everything that you need that's missing in your life. And then everything else will start to piece together. But if you start chasing and looking and looking for every cure-all and end-all be-all, you're always going to find yourself searching. But when you find God and gratitude, everything in your life will change. And that is my key to really getting health, happiness, and success.
Amen. That's really what it comes down to. We're such a big advocate of gratitude as well. It truly is life-changing. And Dylan, if people want to go and listen to your incredible podcast, where can they find you?
So I actually am redoing DylanGemelli.com, and I just got notice this morning. It should be kind of like launching a relaunch next week. So I'm excited for that. You'll be able to find a lot there. But then Dylan Gemelli Podcast, very simple. And I'm at Dylan Gemelli on every single social media site. Yeah, you can't get easier than that. YouTube is Dylan Gemelli Biohacking.
Amazing. So I'll put all of that in the show notes so people can go and check you out everywhere. I highly recommend everybody go and check him out. He is an absolute wealth of knowledge. We just scratched the surface on what that brain of his holds today. So everyone, enjoy your date day, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Keep It Clear.